short of people today. We're a little microcosm of the flu. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, there are no reportable actions taken in closed session, no items for consideration in closed session for action. Do we have any statements of abstention? Adjustments to the agenda. Board member request for information. Okay, brings us to C7, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting, December 20th, 2017.
Second.
Moved by Director Pugh, second by Director Anderson. Roll call vote, please.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, and that brings us to what probably all of you are here for, which is C8, the Student of the Month Awards. Director Fong has the pleasure of giving those this month.
We have two elementary students tonight to talk about, and we're going to start with Kendrick Martinez Cruz. Kendrick, are you here? Yes? Kendrick, bring down your family, please, and your school people who are here. I'll come down. I like to stand with the crowd, and I'd like you to be on TV. Kendrick, nice to meet you. Stand right here, and your family can stand right kind of behind you and next to you. And Principal Noble, and teacher, Mr. Goldberg. And this was written by Principal Dan Noble. And Mr. Okay, thank you. Steel Lane Elementary Student of the Month, Kendrick Martinez Cruz. It's my honor and pleasure to speak to you today about Kendrick Martinez Cruz. Kendrick is an exemplary sixth grader at Steel Lane Elementary. According to his teacher, Mr. Goldberg, Kendrick is a pleasure to have in class and is always engaged and curious. Kendrick's former teachers have shared how much they enjoyed having him in their classes, and they reminisce on his thoughtfulness, his kindness, and his hard work. Kendrick is always kind and courteous to everyone, from the smallest kindergartner to the school principal. He is always happy to help anyone who needs it. When new students arrive in class, Kendrick is the first to connect with them and welcome them to Steel Lane and be a friend. While often quiet in class, peers regularly look to him for guidance, both academically and socially. Kendrick exerts a positive influence on those around him, helping them to be more positive and make better decisions. His positive attitude always serves him well. The entire staff at Steel Lane wish Kendrick well and know that he will do great things the rest of this year and as he continues through middle school and beyond. The Steel Lane community is proud of Kendrick and looks forward to seeing the great things he will do in the future. Congratulations for being Student of the Month. She is not here tonight.
Why don't we go ahead with
We'll
the
wait.
parent organization reports, and
Okay.
we'll give her a chance to get here. Okay, so let's start with the parent organization report from Steel Lane. Do we have a parent organization report from Steel Lane? Yes. Yes. Okay. Come on down. All right. We're calling you out of order. Thanks for your...
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Kelly Materi, and I'm the Steel Lane Site Council chairperson. It's my pleasure to share with you this evening just some of the powerful and positive things that are happening at Steel Lane School. In the wake of the fires that swept through Sonoma County in October, our school community exhibited strength and caring as we supported one another and continue to strengthen our connection. The support given to students as they readjusted to school post-fire was a testament to the sensitivity and professionalism of Steel Lane's educators. As a parent, I was particularly moved when, upon reopening the school in October, the teachers, administration, and other school staff greeted the children at the doors and on the yard, wearing t-shirts and holding signs, welcoming them back to school and reminding them that we are indeed strong as steel. This spirit of positivity and resilience continued as we held our walkathon, Harvest Festival, and Halloween celebration. These were much needed opportunities to come together after the fires and be thankful for all we have together. Our walkathon raised $10,000 for our garden, music, art, sports, and assembly programs. Our Harvest Festival showcased our bountiful garden and brought around 100 community members together to share delicious food, enjoy fun activities, and to press fresh apple cider. We have a growing base of involved parents that understand what a special place Steel Lane Elementary is, and they are dedicated to seeing our students achieve and succeed. The faculty and staff continue to build a safe, supportive learning environment in which they can inspire and build lifelong learners. We appreciate all the teachers and staff that work hard each day to help every child, even the squirrely ones, at Steel Lane be the best they can be, and we look forward to site improvements that will help our school shine the way our students shine each day. Thank you for inviting me to share a bit about the Viking magic that is happening at Steel Lane.
Thank you for that good report and for all you do. I had to take a moment to get a picture of your son sitting over the podium like that, which was adorable. Okay, so do we have our Proctor Terrace student? She's here.
Yeah.
All right, come on down. Yeah. Yeah, let's have a look at that.
You know in? Is your family here with you? All right, so let's come stand over here near the podium.
Size 14.
Family can all come over.
Big. Lots of paragraph breaks. So already covered that one. Yeah, check that.
And we have parents and principal, Ms. Olmstead, and your teacher. Can you introduce everybody?
This is my mom, my dad, Mrs. Olmstead, Mrs. Lyon, Mrs. Feige, and Mrs. Maddich.
Your team. It is truly a pleasure to introduce Yunan Estrada as Proctor Terrace's Student of the Month. Yunan began her academic career at our school as a first grader in Mrs. Madich's special day class. It was evident from the beginning that Yunan was an extraordinary student. Ms. Madich shared that her ability to converse comfortably with adults at the age of 6 brought a smile to her face. Even at that young age, her serious nature and desire for perfection drove her toward learning as much as she could, asking thousands of questions along the way. Yunan was with Ms. Madich for 3 years, soaking up as much as she could possibly learn, and it paid off. As a fourth grader, it was decided that she was able to take on the rigor of general education. Her transition was a successful one. Mr. Swedenborg, her fourth grade teacher, acknowledged what a pivotal year this was for Ewan. She was always attentive and worked hard on all of her assignments. Her self-confidence grew every day. As a fifth grader, that growing self-confidence led her to participate in our school spelling bee. In spite of her anxiety to be on stage, in front of most of the school, she persevered. There was some anxiety on her part as she continued to spell words correctly and see others leaving the stage as she remained. Mrs. Hyatt, her teacher, was in the audience encouraging her to breathe. Ewan went on to win our school-wide contest that day and represented our school in the next leg of the competition. As a result of her success in the spelling bee, Ms. Hyatt encouraged her to participate in our school talent show, as Ewan loves to sing. She practiced daily in front of her class to prepare. In the middle of the day, they would turn on an instrumental version of Lionel Richie's Hello, and she would sing it for the class. The entire class would join in and sing with her under Ms. Hyatt's holiday lights in her classroom, giving it the feel of an actual concert. The night of the talent show, Ewan was beaming as she performed and brought tears of pride to the eyes of her teacher and principal. As a sixth grader, she continues to make her schoolwork a priority. She also has displayed another artistic talent, drawing. Her classroom job last trimester was to make thank you cards. The recipients of those cards were very impressed with her artwork. Ewan continues to set goals for herself and works diligently to achieve them. We all know that Ewan is going to continue to grow and achieve great things in middle school and beyond. Congratulations, Student of the Month.
All right, congratulations. Thank you, Director Fong. All right, we will move on to the parent report from Proctor Terrace.
Hi, I'm Jo Shire. I'm the Vice President of Proctor Terrace PTA. The PTA is doing really well this year, despite all the adversities that we obviously face, and we have a great budget in place and lots of good things happening in the school. We rely on two main fundraisers throughout the year. We have a walkathon in the fall and a dinner and dance and auction in the spring. Our walkathon this year luckily just happened just before the fires, and despite the adversity of the fires and afterwards, we still met our fundraising target and managed to bring in just under $32,000, which is wonderful. The Proctor PTA has taken a consensus to concentrate funds into activities that can affect all the students on campus through TK through to the 6th grade. And we like to choose projects and activities that directly enrich and support the curriculum. So some of the highlights that I just wanted to share with you of spending in this school year that have either been already spent or will be spent throughout the rest of the year. We pay for all field trips for the students. So we have a budget of $25 per student to go to some wonderful field trips to Pepperwood Preserve, to Schultz Museum. We also pay for the science guy. You might know of Mark Bradsky that works with the city as well. He has a wonderful science class for every classroom that comes in once a month, and the students really enjoy that, and that really supports the science curriculum that the teachers teach. our fabulous school garden. The PTA pays the stipend for the garden coordinator, and the students just love our garden, and they enjoy a garden lesson once or even twice a month. The fabulous play, the PTA pays for all the school play production with licensing, costumes and set, and this year we're excited to put on Peter Pan. Chrome carts, the PTA is fully committed to supporting the school and the teachers with their technology needs, and the teachers are very strongly suggest that we look at providing the Chrome carts. So this year we've already purchased one complete Chrome cart of 36 Chromebooks, and we hope that we'll be able to support them and buy another one before the end of the year. And another key component of the budget is the Curriculum Enrichment Fund, and this is where we allocate $25 per student, and give this to the teacher to allocate in their classroom as they see fit, and they can spend just to support the curriculum. So lots of exciting things happening in Proctor Terrace. So thank you.
Great, thank you for the report. Sounds like a lot of exciting things. Okay, we're going to move on to public comment, but right after public comment, we'll take just a couple-minute break so that if you guys who are here for the awards want to escape, then you can. So we'll have an opportunity for public comment, and it's an opportunity to talk about anything that's not on the agenda, except that if you have a personnel matter, we'd ask you to direct those to Assistant Superintendent Lee, who's up here. So I have two cards, and we'll call Jane Bender first, and then after which will be Joan Tunney.
No, she's first.
Okay. First is Joan Tunney, then Jane Bender.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Do we have?
Thanks.
No problem.
Hi, I'm Joan Tunney. I'm not really prepared to speak. I was just going to leave that, actually. Didn't realize that I could make a presentation. But anyway.
Can you walk and speak a little closer to the mic?
Oh, I looked over your website, and I know that you encourage community input into your strategic plan. And so this is something I've been working on for a while, and I still haven't actually got it produced, but I've applied for a patent, and it's a new process for board-type games for amusement, but also I feel and believe, and was why I initially applied for the patent, that it would be an excellent teaching tool. Globally, actually, because it's environmentally sustainable. It's not made out of paper, so it's easy to transport. And also for use in schools where there's a lot of cultural and language differences, which I think in California, although it's primarily Hispanic, language is a real, I would think, difficult thing in the classroom for teachers to really be able to present something. So games are visual, and this game also has a new structure that is in paper and can be used. Doesn't require that you plug it in. It's not digital or anything like that. And it takes an academic concept and breaks it down to its simplest form and puts it on the different components of the game, which are all made out of this treated polypropylene that you can stick up on the wall or put someplace and leave it there for a whole classroom term so that students can really master this concept. So I did present it to a couple of teachers, and they thought it was really interesting. But as I said, it's new, and so I don't have a lot of support for it. And so if you have a chance to take a look at it, and I would appreciate it if you could give me comments as to whether you think this would really be a useful tool in the classrooms in Santa Rosa. So that's about it. And I appreciate your time, and if you get a chance to look at it, I really would appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for presenting to us. Okay, now Jane Bender. Sorry about that mix-up.
think I remember how this works. Yep. It's really nice to be here tonight. That's wonderful to look at these kids and all the wonderful things they're doing. And I'm here tonight to, I understand that you're going to be doing some districting, mapping, and it may affect the elections of board members. And I'm here as a former politician to speak passionately about my conviction on institutional memory. You know, it really goes without saying, and we all know it, that Santa Rosa has been reeling since the fires. And I hear it all the time in my volunteer activities. You know, people can't find a place to live, or they're not rebuilding and leaving the area because they're underinsured. Businesses have been hit hard. So I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be a while until Santa Rosa really gets on its feet again. And the kids, our children in this community and their families need stability, and schools are an incredible stability. All the pictures on the front page of the papers when the schools are back on and the kids are there and their teachers are there. It's stable, especially for children who have lost their homes and their grandparents have left town because they can't find a place to live. And a quality education, and we have quality education, but it's even more important today because as Santa Rosa gets back on its feet, one of the things it's going to have to do is boast about a strong workforce, and it's the kids who are going to be that strong workforce. So retaining, I'm saying all this because I think retaining a core group of, you call yourselves directors, right? I'm discussing, of directors is really going to be important in these next few years. It's really good to have new blood, I understand that, and new ideas, but at the same time, you need that solid experience. I know from my 8 years on the Board of Community Services and 10 years on the Santa Rosa City Council, bureaucracies are incredibly complex. And no matter how dedicated you are or how smart you are, there is a steep learning curve. So keeping that core of members, directors, really would help with that. I mean, it's tough, and even in the best of times, and I don't think the next few years are going to be the best of times for Santa Rosa. So thank you, and thank you for all you do and for the kids. It's our future. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to just take a few minutes so that if you folks who are here for the student awards and the parent reports want to take off and do something different, you can. let's come back to order, please. I'm supposed to do a big motion for the video people, but I usually forget. So when I do, I try to do an extra big one for extra credit. Okay, so we're on to reports. D1, which is Santa Rosa Teachers Association. President Lyon.
Good evening, President Close, Superintendent Kitamura on Facebook, I'm sure she'll be watching, and board members. I hope everybody got some much needed and well-deserved rest over the winter break. I did, but it wasn't enough. Either way, we surely have our noses firmly to the grindstone now. There's a quick story that I share it with my students at the beginning of the semester, the second semester, as we work to set goals for the remainder of the school year. It helps them, it helps me. I'd like to share it now before I share some of SRTA's goals for the rest of the school year and beyond. You may have heard it. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It's a terrible fight between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continued, the other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside of you and inside of every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? And the old Cherokee simply replied, the one you feed. I think we can agree last semester wasn't normal. It was tough for me personally, and I'm sure it was tough for many, if not all of you. Between the fires and the fact-finding process, my bad wolf did plenty of barking and some biting, and I didn't like it. With the new contract and a new year, I'm here tonight to feed the good wolf. I can't imagine a more suitable time to focus on healing and working to make things better than right now. With love and respect, I want to give you my perspective on the tentative agreement, where SRTA stands now, and what we, SRTA, SRCS, and all of us can do to work together to make Santa Rosa a destination district for our students and our staff. That's a goal I hope you'll share with SRTA. Regarding the tentative agreement, I am grateful that we have reached a tentative agreement and that our members have ratified that agreement. It's a significant step in addressing our healthcare situation. It isn't checkmark problem solved, but it is progress that we should be proud of. And I hope you will ratify it tonight. You should know it was a very close vote. The first TA was rejected by our members. That was the first one that's been rejected since before the strike, so it's been over 30 years. 63% of our members voted on the second TA, which is a good turnout for us. Of that, 56% voted yes, 44% voted no. So it was close. Our normal ratio is traditionally about 66-33. So further, the no's were really very strong, loud no's, and the yeses were soft, quiet yeses. I had a lot of members come to me after we made the agreement, before we voted, and they whispered and they said, I'm a yes on this one. And the no's were much more forceful. I mention that so you know that SRTA is going to have to do some internal healing as we move forward, working with the district and the board to improve relationships and systems to build a more peaceful labor management partnership. Things haven't been normal in a long time, and that means we're going to create the new normal. We are, right? Let's do it together and let's make it awesome. On the relationship side, I'm glad, really glad, that SRTA leaders and SRCS leaders were able to maintain much better professionalism and cordiality during the recent negotiations compared to the 5% is fair year. That was our most recent compensation increase agreement. We've had other smaller agreements, but the last time we got a raise, it was much more contentious on the relationship side. Your strong leadership, the board and the district office, and a lot of SRTA members, I'll add, that was a big part of that professionalism and that relationship, and I'm really grateful. I remain grateful for the hard work that everybody did during that time. As we move forward, I hope we can maintain and build on those relationships in a way that spreads beyond our negotiations and our leaders and finds its way to all of our members and our site administrators and our district level administrators and our colleagues. I hope you'll join me in that goal. As for systems, there's three things that I think we can focus on right now to make the next round of negotiations more peaceful and productive. That would be professional development, a transparent and inclusive budgetary process, and normalizing our negotiation cycle. Regarding professional development, I'm excited that we've agreed to try menu-driven professional development. That's in the current TA. To me, menu-driven professional development means that SRTA and SRCS will work together to provide options for members to choose the most appropriate, effective, and meaningful professional development possible. I understand that since the TA will only become formally accepted tonight, I hope, won't it? And our first professional development day is January 30th, just a few weeks away. The menu will be limited on this first PD day. I'm told there will be sessions on curriculum, Illuminate Ed, and trauma-informed care, and fire recovery. That makes a lot of sense to me. I personally am committed to helping make that day as good as possible. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. In the near future, my goal is to work with SRCS and to create a system for members to propose ideas for the second PD day on March 8th. On Facebook and in person, we've had good conversations. I've heard a lot of excellent ideas from our members. Some members have issues at their sites that they want to work on, things like bullying, drug use, reading intervention programs. Other members are focused on curriculum development, like the Common Core development teams and the math and language arts adoptions. Anytime they can spend during PDA days instead of leaving their classrooms will be helpful. Other members are interested in time and space to work with other content area teachers across the district, different levels and different schools. That makes a lot of sense to me. Other members are desperate to learn more about Illuminate Ed. Counselors are specifically worried about transcripts and scheduling students, and they need some training. Many teachers want to learn more about how to fully utilize the new system. I hope you will join me in that goal as well. I will say to our members, forgive me because this speech is to you, but I do want to say quickly to our members that if we want to have a bigger say in professional development, we are going to need to step up and take some ownership. We can't sit back and lob grenades at the PD that we have. We are going to need to partner with the district to create the PD that we want. Specifically, we are going to need at least one teacher from every site to lead on training for Illuminate Ed, and they should be appropriately compensated for that leadership. I hope our members will join me in that goal. Looking a little more long-term, in Alisal Union School District in California, the district gradually gave more and more responsibility for professional development to the teachers and the local teacher association. It took about 3 years, but Alisal has been able to transfer a lion's share of PD responsibility to the teachers, which saves money on consultants, puts more money into the pockets of teachers who are much cheaper than consultants, and makes PD more meaningful and relevant to its teachers and staff. I hope you and our members will join me in working towards that goal. Next, SRTA has high expectations for the Budget Advisory Committee. We expect this to be one of the systems that will increase transparency and inclusivity so that we can align our budget cuts with the priorities of our stakeholders. I understand we are in an uncomfortable position. We know that we had to cut $5 million ongoing this year to get out of qualified status before the ratification of the current tentative agreement. Factoring in the TA, that number is now more like $7 million, I'm told. SRTA's goal is that in the coming weeks and months, SRTA will work through the Budget Advisory Committee with SRCS and other stakeholders, parents, students, site and district administrators, the business community, and the school board, so that when the budget cuts are presented to the board for board approval, SRTA can stand shoulder to shoulder with all of those stakeholders and endorse the recommendations presented to the board. I hope you'll all join me in that goal. I am, I must say, concerned that some of the Budget Advisory Committee meetings have been scheduled in direct conflict with SRTA Rep Council and Exec Board meetings. Tomorrow, for example, is a conflict. It makes it much harder for SRTA leaders to participate. I know the timelines are tight, but I hope we can find a way to ensure the process is transparent and inclusive and honors the teacher's commitment to that process to maximize the effectiveness of the committee and teacher buy-in. Also, I have to say, when we talk about our budget woes, teachers have a strong negative reaction when we hear that the reason we are in qualified status is because of teacher pensions. We've read it in the paper and we've heard district officials make that claim. It's a trigger for us. I hope you'll avoid making that claim in the future. The errors that got us into this mess are all solvable, and they will be solved, and SRTA looks forward to working on that Budgetary Advisory Committee to help find those solutions. Lastly, SRTA would like to normalize our bargaining cycle. Things haven't been normal in a while. 3 years ago, we had the 5% is fair year. That wasn't normal. Then we had 2 years of fruitless bargaining, followed by the fact-finding semester. That wasn't normal. This non-standard bargaining hurts relationships, and it makes all the work we have to do harder than it already is. SRTA would like to see a cycle of bargaining where we can make our agreements before our contract expires. Going forward, we'd like to begin negotiating compensation shortly after unaudited actuals come out in September, reach an agreement with the district in January or February before March 15 non-elect to rehire and layoff notices are due. Then we would like to focus on the non-monetary stuff and clear the decks before the next September rolls around. The current tentative agreement settles compensation through the 2018-2019 school year, which means we should be negotiating the 2019-20 school year compensation next September, just 8 months away. Things being how they are, I understand that's a tall order. There's a lot of stuff that happened before that. But I do think we can spend the rest of this year negotiating some non-monetary stuff so that they are settled by the end of the year, including the calendar for next school year, maybe even the next 2 years, finalizing expired evaluation pilot and the MOU on maternity leave, special services caseloads, which is part of the current TA, and AB 119, which blunts some of Trump's attack on labor unions. I understand that those are all the purview of our respective bargaining teams to work out. And I don't want to step on their toes, and I don't want to bargain in public in an unfair way, but I am convinced that normalizing our bargaining cycle will help protect our relationships and systems so we can work together more effectively. Staff driven professional development, a transparent budget process, and a normalized bargaining cycle would be a healthy ear scratch and a hearty belly rub to my good wolf. I think it would be for your good wolves as well and for our members. I hope you will partner with me and with SRTA to work towards those goals and to make Santa Rosa a destination district for students and for staff. And I hope you'll share your goals with me and with SRTA so we can work together on those too. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I see that Tammy is with us for a CSA report.
Good evening, President Close, board members, and student board member. Tammy Afonso, CSEA 75 president. Currently, we are working on dates for placement on the calendars and possibly looking at 2 years. Voting on job description, updates, and new positions during this week. And we look forward to restarting the LMC meetings and continuing our collaborative work with the district and SRTA. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you for your report. Good to see you, President Alfonso. Okay, superintendent unfortunately is ill. We don't have board member reports since we have student of the month. I am going to save my report till after the consent agenda. Do we have a CSBA or NSBA report? Not tonight, says Director Pugh. Okay, so we will go to the consent agenda.
I'd like to move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Director Pugh, second by Director Fong. Roll call vote, please.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
Motion carries, and that brings me to my report, because I wanted to say congratulations to us all for passing the tentative agreement. I want to thank our respective bargaining teams, negotiating teams, for their really, really hard work during a challenging time. And I am, like President Lyon and I'm sure President Alfonso, looking forward to a fresh start and new and better ways of doing things. 2017 was tough for a lot of reasons, and some totally out of our control. In fact, I think the ones that were totally out of our control, we handled really well, impressively, but some within our control. And so I would challenge us all as individuals, as groups, as entities to, in each step of the way in building our relationship, asking ourselves what we can do, what's our role and what's our responsibility in improving relationships that make our district stronger. If one thing the fire reminded the entire community of is the importance of our school districts and the stability of this community. And, so not only do our kids rely on us every day to have a good and positive environment, but the whole community relies on us. I mean, really, in terms of public institutions, we are probably the only public institution that is pretty much back to normal. And that's going to be the case for some time. And people are really going to rely on us to provide that stabilizing force and to provide, the training that our kids need to help our community get back to normal. So I am excited to start anew and again sort of challenge each one of us to really take responsibility for creating a more productive, more positive environment and relationships in our district. So again, I just want to say, yay, onward. Okay, and let's go to our action items. I think we're going to push, is Pat Emery here? No. So we're going to push F1 and start with F2, discussion item, update to the Integrated Pest Management Administrative Regulation.
Good evening. Andre Bell, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services. This item we're bringing forward to you is based upon a meeting in September where the community spoke out regarding our integrated pest management policy. And so we met with the members of the community that spoke and actually have revised the administrative regulation to include some of the recommendations that they made going forward for the policy. So basically, we adopted a policy that will mandate a safe, clean, and health environment for our students and staff. That's actually part of the Ed Code and the Healthy Schools Act of 2000 and 2014. So we have been complying with that aspect of life. When we wanted to develop a preferred product list, not giving so much attention to synthetics, pesticides, but more organic, and to move towards a more various ways of controlling our pests and quality control on our campuses. And as I stated earlier, using organic chemicals, and we only would try to use synthetic chemicals only when it deems a health and safety issues, and that would be by the superintendent herself. So, pardon me, we had met and we did, part of it was to develop an advisory committee. This committee would be included myself, parents of the district's enrolled students, a certificate staff member, classified staff member, and one community member at large. And the members of the that brought this community to us at first are actually all volunteering to be on that, so we don't have to really start up again from the bottom and try to work forward with that. The IPM coordinator is the director of M&O, and I'm happy to let you know that we do have an M&O director now. His name is Eric Oden, and he started at the first of the year, so we're all happy about that. And what it will do now is we'll bring an annual report, a user report by the coordinator to the Santa Rosa City School Board on an annual basis. And we will continue to, provide written notice to all staff and members regarding the chemicals that we are going to be using on site. After 5 months, we will revise and adopt the policy and bring it to the board. And once the board approves the IPM policy, it will be implemented throughout the district. Questions?
Before we go to questions, I have a blue card. Carrie?
Good evening, school board members. Thank you so much for listening to this agenda item and keeping it on the agenda so recently after the fires, keeping that a priority. I just really want to thank staff. Andre has been really fabulous to work with, making time to hear our concerns and integrate them. Ryan from Pioneer High School has been fabulous as well. So we've got awesome champions on this, teachers, assistant principal, and staff. Really appreciate that. We're supportive of the preference of non-chemical methods over synthetic pesticides and organics over synthetics as well. I'm excited to have this preferred product list, the advisory committee, and the annual report. And as you know, this is a very important issue for the community. I think you've probably received at least 50 emails in the last 24 hours about this and showing support. So thank you for listening to the community, listening to this, and thank you so much for staff for being willing to work with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, questions, comments from the board? Okay, I would say the same thing. Good report. Thank you for working with our community leaders and the public on this, and we look forward to seeing it back.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go on to F3, the discussion item on Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium.
Good evening, President Close, members of the board. Tonight, we will be presenting the dashboard and also some SBAC information. With me, I have Coordinator Crank and Director Van Dyke.
Good evening, President Close, directors of the board. Tonight, I'll be talking about our accountability dashboard, our SBAC tests, and how everything is integrated with these indicators on the LCAP. The SBAC tests, they're part of our, some people call them CASP. They are our state tests, and then we have our accountability dashboard model, which I will be speaking further about, and it's an informational piece used to measure our LCAP priority areas. And the academic indicator is based on those SBAC tests, which shows up in our LCAP and as well as in the dashboard. Once again, all pieces are highly integrated. They're to help us tell us, where are we? Where are we in our academic indicators? It also, of course, incorporates suspension indicators and graduation. The SBAC test specifically, of course, those speak to our academic indicators. So for our local indicators update, the board perhaps will remember last time I spoke about these. These are based on the reflective discussions with department chairs, our CCD groups, the directors with their departments. And through this, we have determined which phase we're at. Exploration and research is 1, and then beginning development is 2. And you will, of course, notice that ELD is at a 1. None of this should be a surprise. This is what we're working on. ELD at a number 1 is our English language development group. We have our EL master plan now finished, as you approve that, and so we are moving forward with implementing all of the measures in there to help us move this up on the chart. So this is an example of what the dashboard 5x5 grid looks like, and you will note on this that there is no 11th grade. This is grades 3 through 8. The principals are really beginning to dive into this dashboard data and information. There's more out there that we need to look at, and then Rand will be explaining how Illuminate Ed can be used in conjunction with the dashboard for further information. You will notice that where it says SRCS district placement, that's all of our students. But then at the bottom in the red, you will see homeless indicator. And so you will see, again, homeless as well. And then I will explain why that qualifies us for differentiated instruction. On the next page, this is again an indicator of the math. And you will see us again in the, as a district, we are in the orange. But again, if you look down in the red, you will see that our homeless students, again, are in there as well. And it's important to notice when they're in there more than once, a certain subgroup, because that is what helps us qualify for differentiated assistance. The next is our suspension indicator. And this represents all of our students. So before it was just K through 8, this is everyone, K through 12. And you will see that all students are, again, located in basically the same level. And this reflects and mirrors a lot of the data of the state as well. Again, you will see in the red our foster youth, our homeless. And so because our district did not show improvement, remember it's about growth and change, and so because we did not show improvement across more than one state priority for one or more student groups, we are now within this differentiated assistance group. It's nothing to be scared of. This isn't the big hammer of date coming down upon us. This is merely a flashlight that is helping us to figure out how we can improve and grow and change with our new information systems. So you will see that the dashboard, it does help us analyze our strengths and our challenges. And then the idea is to focus on building internal capacity. So this isn't another corporation or company coming in to tell us what to do. They are really, this is the Sonoma County Office of Education working with us as elbow partners with our teachers, with our professional development directors, so that we can make something that is sustainable for us. And with that, we use the LCAP process, and that's, of course, involving all of our stakeholders to really look at the information and the data to help us strengthen and change. And then the assistance is not just for those students. It's the assistance will be to help us develop district-wide improvements for them. And then the idea that this is not going to happen overnight. And this is also new, and things with the CDE and the dashboard and this differentiated assistance are things that we haven't done yet, so it's going to take a while. And then we have a commitment to sustained improvement with this.
Now what we're looking at are the first time we've had an opportunity to look at a 3-year view of the assessments, the CAS math and English assessments. We're just going to focus on English. This is the state view, and I thought it was important to see that what's happened with the state in terms of these assessments over the 3 years is all the bands are essentially flat, unchanged over the course of time. And I would also say that students are not achieving at the level that anybody wants them to achieve at as well. The green bottom band is the lowest achievement level, and the top blue band is the highest achievement group. The next one is the Sonoma County area. So this is all Sonoma County students, and you'll see a similar trend. That is, it's relatively flat, relatively unchanged, slightly wider bands of the two lower areas. So in Sonoma County, the students are achieving at slightly lower rates than they are at the state. And when we look at our district, we see the same trend, that is flat in terms of change. Our lower two bands are definitely bigger than the county and the state. So we have a fair amount of work that we need to do. That's what this information tells us. This is the secondary view. So the slide before was elementary. This slide is secondary. And so it's the same thing. We know we have work to do, and that's what this is telling us. But what we also know is we're very similar to what's happening within the county and the state. This slide is from one of the reports available in the new student information system, Illuminate Ed. Unfortunately, the color bands don't match. They're not the same colors. So look at it positionally. The lowest band is standard not met. So the analogy is the lowest band in the previous slide. So here we have the ability to look at information from a district perspective. We can look at information from a school site perspective, depends on who the user is that opens this up. And then we can look at it based upon some other ways it's been sliced. In this particular case, we're looking at ethnicities. So we can see which groups we need to potentially provide some targeted instruction or guidance and support for. The next slide is another example of the same kind of information for mathematics. If I were a teacher running this slide, I would see information related to just my students. If I was a site administrator, I'd see information related to my site. And if I was one of the district folks, I'd see information related to the district. Did you change the slides? I couldn't tell. So again, this is another subject matter example. What you'll notice is 11th grade isn't really represented a lot because we don't have comparative information, but we can run this slide at the high school level and see the single year slice. So this isn't a 3-year comparison, this is a single year view.
So when we talk about the Common Core state standards, you can see that we have been doing over the last 3 years quite a bit of growth and resources and work with professional development. We have excellent teachers in our district, and I know that you've had presentations around some of the units of study, but as you can see here, there's a vast amount of work in supporting the Common Core state standards in both ELA and mathematics over these last several years, and it will continue as we move forward to deepen our understanding and to make sure that we are serving all students equitable. Lastly, we leave you some key questions from West Ed. These obviously, as we've done in the past, are questions maybe not to be answered today, but obviously for us to work with all of our groups, principals, staffs, and even parents. As you know, a big part of the LCFF is working with our different parent groups, and so these questions too will be posed to DAC and to DLAC. And some of these questions were posed to our principals at our last principals meeting. And with that, I turn it over to the board.
Do we have questions? Director Pugh looks like he has something to say. Director Pugh.
Well, excuse me. When you look at the data that's given, there's a lot of work to be done. Especially after over 3 years, it hasn't really changed very much. And so when I see reports like this, it's kind of like driving your car while looking out the rearview mirror. What I care more about is what's going on in front and leading us, and what our goals are. I have no clue as to what the expectation is other than to be better, which is too general. So I'm looking for, from our administration and staff and teachers, I'm looking for a way to define the future in the district, and that means setting goals and then allocating resources to meet the goals. I hope when this comes back to the board in the future that we would be able to establish those goals.
For sure.
Director Fong.
Dr. Guzman, how often are we going to get these kinds of reports? Is this an annual report, or are we going to get like semi-annual?
You know, we've been only doing annual reports, but I do think we could bring it back to the board. more than just once a year, if that is the purview of the board.
I think I would like to particularly also hear more about the progress on the Yale Master Plan and how things are going. As I'm listening to some staff also, I also have heard that, I hear two things. I hear there's too much training, there's too many things to do, and we need more training. I hear both of that. So I think this menu thing would be a great thing. But also what I hear a lot of, and I know to be absolutely true, is the collaborative nature of how teachers work together and create things for themselves. So I know that that's something that Diane, our superintendent, and you are looking at and want and actually have been doing. So I support that completely. But I also know that sometimes we do, there's experts in the room. Sometimes the experts are really, 50 miles away. We have to pay them to come 50 miles. They become an expert. We certainly have a lot of experts here. But also, we do need outside voices to kind of like drop little bomblets of ideas in if we're, just looking at each other all the time. So it's kind of both. And I know that's kind of a conundrum. And but I think finally a report, not quarterly, maybe, I don't know, twice, whatever you guys think, but I think more than once a year. It's so complex.
Completely doable.
I would echo the comments of both Director Pugh and Director Fong. It would be, and I know that this is something that your staff is working on, is how to identify, what are reasonable and attainable goals, and how to get there. And so, but when we see sort of a flat line, then obviously some discussion on that is warranted. And it would be nice to revisit this a little bit more often. Particularly, I know that we have more mechanisms to test things along the way, and so to see that progress would be helpful. Personally, I don't know how anybody else feels about this, but I feel like the stacked bar graph is the worst possible way to present data. I actually generally think it's presented by people who don't really want you to understand what's on there. I know that this is what the state does with these, and I sent them a long email about that. Some happy staffer threw that in the trash. And so I do appreciate you having the raw numbers on some of these. It's also really hard to see progress or just changes over time. So I would love it if we could pick a different way to present this data, one that actually helps you see that without adding and subtracting on each stacked bar graph. I know it's a lot of data to process, and the state is making this hard by presenting it in this way, but it's not helpful, unfortunately. At least that's what I think. So I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, and I know you guys are already working hard on it, and so thank you for the report and for the work you're doing, and look forward to hearing more. Thanks. Okay, so we'll go on to F4. Action item, approval of annual capital facilities and developer fee report and resolution. Is that Andre?
Andre Bell, Assistant Superintendent of Business. F4 is basically a requirement on the developer fees that we bring before the board every year, a requirement from the state that it should be brought before the board within a time frame of 185 days from the start of the fiscal year. We have the report available for public view in the district office currently. Basically, the report gives you a resolution that is before you tonight, as well as in the report itself, an explanation of the developer fees, how they were spent, collected, and the projects that we spent the money on within the last year. So we just need approval of the resolution as we go forward, and we'll be moving on with the developer fees. And I apologize for stepping out.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have questions or comments from the board?
I move approval of this resolution.
Moved by Director Fong, second by Director Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So we will go back to the beginning and go to F1, discussion item on the Santa Rosa High School farm.
Good evening, President Close, members of the board. We're here tonight to have an initial discussion on the Santa Rosa High Farm on Alba Lane. As everyone is well aware, and I'm bringing up a photo now, along with Hidden Valley Elementary Satellite, Alba Lane Farm was also destroyed by the fires in October. The photo on the left was before the fire, and the one on the right was after the fire. We're in the process right now of still evaluating and waiting for insurance monies to be fully allocated. We expect that to happen early next week at this point, where then we'll be able to do some finite planning. We're looking at it in two ways. One is a short-term perspective because of the needs, immediate needs of what the farm was doing on an annual basis, as well as looking at long-term needs and what can happen at that farm, and also working with community partners with other options for the Santa Rosa Agriculture Program and the Alba Lane Farm. To my immediate right is Mr. Pat Emery, who is representing the Santa Rosa Fair Foundation, correct? Who reached out to us in early December about some potential opportunities that would exist with the foundation and the rebuilding of the farm. And we'd like to talk about those a little bit tonight and bring those up in terms of discussion. So, Mr. Emery, if you'd like to share the thoughts.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me here and hearing this idea out. I'm going to do full disclosure right off the bat. I was in the FFA all the way through high school, loved it, credited for giving me my career, and now I've got a granddaughter who's in the Santa Rosa High School FFA program, so I'm hardly a disinterested spectator here. But having said that, the Sonoma County Fair Foundation is a group that was created by Sarah Lee Cundy before she passed away. And it's composed almost entirely of past presidents of the Sonoma County Fair, including myself. And so the mission is to enhance the fair-going experience, but also interact with the community in a way that continues the legacy of agriculture here in Sonoma County. As you know as well or better than I do, we're not the same farm town that we were 45 years ago. I will tell you that the Santa Rosa High School Ag Department is a storied ag department. When I was a kid, Santa Rosa was kind of the top of the heap in terms of ag programs throughout the state of California, and it's still a great program. You've also got Elsie Allen now that's a great program as well. So we built what we call Sarah Lee's Barn out at the fairgrounds. Our foundation did. We raised $3 million in private donations over a period of 18 months. Built the building. I teased the fair directors that the best thing they did is they stayed out of our way and let us do it. And then we raised $1 million for ag education so that we can put on programs that relate to agriculture in that facility or elsewhere. So we finished that project. We actually built the building in 11 months. And if you've been in it, it's a beautiful multi-purpose facility that the fair now uses for many purposes. They make a lot of money renting it out. And so we were looking for our next project. And the fires came along and burned down your school farm. So the idea arose that perhaps because Santa Rosa High School sends so many animals to our fair, and because the the kids are such an integral part of what we do and what we present out there, that maybe we should help you rebuild your farm. So we kind of took the temperature among our donor group, which is extensive. It was hundreds and hundreds of people connected to agriculture. And the enthusiasm was very high, and said, yeah, if you guys want to get behind that, we'll raise a lot of money to help rebuild the farm. While we were having those discussions, the idea arose separately that perhaps, at least in the short term, your farm could be relocated to the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Rather than having two sets of publicly owned barns, which are unoccupied most of the year, let's just have one set and try to fill it up a little more. So that's the idea. Those are the two sort of alternatives that I see. You can rebuild Alba Lane, or you can go somewhere else. I want to say I don't have any authority to speak for the fairgrounds management or for the board of directors. I have been in very close contact with them. I've spoken with the head of the Building and Grounds committee twice in the last 2 days, and they are definitely interested in trying to work something out that would permit your students to raise their animals on the fairgrounds, at least this year and perhaps next year. They are in the middle of a master planning process, so they don't want to commit to anything long-term right now, but they're open to the idea that if you can't get things up and running at Alba Lane or elsewhere, that you could put the animals out there. I suspect that if that's the direction that you and Santa Rosa High School administration choose to go, there have to be some in-depth discussions between fair staff and your staff to make that work. But the barns are there, they're empty, there are show rings, there are storage facilities, there are all the things that you wish you had at Alba Lane. So our role, the foundation's role, would be if you're just going to build at Alba Lane, we'll help you raise some money to do it. If the project is specific and containable, we're not going to just go out and ask the community for a bunch of money. We're going to have to say, this is specifically what our foundation is prepared to build, and this is what it's going to cost. I've had great conversations with your staff about that. If, on the other hand, you go at least temporarily in the direction of using the fairgrounds, I think we could help with some of the temporary improvements that are going to be needed. For example, I think there's going to have to be some security installations to make sure that when other activities are occurring on the fairgrounds, those people using the fairgrounds don't in some way interfere with your livestock raising operation. So we're happy to help if we can.
Thank you. Board members. Director Anderson.
I want to applaud you for thinking of this and bringing it to the district, and I think community collaboration like this could go a long way to help with what we do and what our kids need. And I just have to, I don't want to push because it sounds like you're being very generous, but as I think about the fairgrounds, I think about all the times that parent associations are looking for venues, and we often look to the fairgrounds, and of course it costs money, and sometimes wherever we're doing our fundraisers, very often the proceeds we get from our fundraisers are significantly reduced because we're having to pay for venues. So as you think about this collaboration, perhaps we could throw in an element of having a venue available for school fundraisers?
Well, I'd be happy to respond to that. First of all, I'm not on the Fair Board anymore. I did preside over it for a number of years, but I don't have any authority to speak for them. Well, I know what the answer would be, though, because I've delivered it myself many times, and that is the fair is no longer a lucrative community activity. It runs on a break-even basis. Once the Congress changed the rules on depreciating racehorses began to disappear, and instead of making $1 million net on that 2-day racing meet each year, they now basically break even on the racing meet. So anytime they can rent a building, they're going to rent the building. The foundation, which I chair, which built the building, does have the right to use it for our own purposes 30 days a year. So if you want to pitch us for a particular event, I'll be happy to talk to you.
I think what you've learned really quickly is that we'll shamelessly ask.
As you should.
Director Sheffield, do you have a shameless request for Mr. Emery?
I want to thank, this is more of a shameless promotion, I guess. I just want to thank the staff And thank you, sir, for coming in. And even though you're no longer on the foundation board, please extend our thank you for offering this, providing this up as an opportunity, and just a shining example of the community coming together, post-fire and the recovery phase, just showing, the support that we have, that there's a lot of people in this community who are just holding us together, and this is just an example, so I just want to thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Chairman, if I can push back, I think that the one thing that I think should be emphasized here tonight, and I'm sure your staff has and will emphasize it for you and to you, is the feeder pigs arrive in the middle of April. And I don't know, Dawn's here, she can tell us when the lambs arrive, but about the same time. So, whatever you're going to do, something needs to happen in a hurry, or it's just a different day. My granddaughter lives in Proctor Terrace. She doesn't have 5 acres in the backyard where, if the farm doesn't exist, she can stick her hogs. It means there isn't a project this year. So I'm hoping that whichever direction you go, it can happen fairly quickly.
Director Palmer.
Thank you very much. Not only is it a great partnership and the foundation has done a lot, but I want to encourage staff to, as we rebuild this, and I'm learning a lot about this now because I didn't know very much about the ag program. I was at a different high school, but I'm very impressed with it. And I would just encourage all of us to think about how to continue to make and increase a state-of-the-art facility for our students and bring us into truly the 21st century area of agriculture and what kids need and what our community needs, and really partner not only with that foundation, but partner with anybody else that we can possibly shamelessly ask people to do to make this really a world-class facility, led by the teachers and administrators and the staff, everybody who's involved in this, because we need to send our kids out there absolutely prepared to bring all of us into this next economic future that we have. And this is a very strong portion of our economy in Sonoma County. So I think we can find a lot of supporters and a lot of partners for this. So I'd like to not see us just recreate it. I'd like to see us create brand new, strong, powerful, not just a facility, but everything that goes in the facility. So, my 2 cents.
Director Pugh.
Thank you. I absolutely agree. I think if you look 5 or 10 years down the road, you're going to see the facility at Alba Lane fully built out. There's an opportunity to make some tremendous changes and make it really useful, more than now, and it's pretty useful now. In the short term, having a place that have animals and such is important, and there should be dual discussions going on at the same time. But what I would like to impress upon the administration here is that this is the lack of a farm site right now has a tremendous detrimental impact to the program of instruction, and I can't think of a higher priority at this point given what has taken place with the fire. We need to move quickly and start rebuilding the site. That would be, I think, what the staff would like to see happen. I think the community would like to see that happen. I think we should move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Okay. It sounds like everyone is very grateful, and of course we are, for your willingness to help, the foundation's willingness to help in this situation. The farm was a great loss. It was really a pretty fantastic place. If anyone, hasn't been there, that's unfortunate, but hopefully we will build something back that's better. I'm supposed to express Director Carl's comments. He is ill. He and I agree on this, so that's pretty easy. But that we really wholeheartedly support, developing a first-class agriculture and permanent ag facility, whether that is at the fairgrounds or Alba Lane, or at the fairgrounds temporarily and then Alba Lane. I think there's a lot of moving parts in this decision, and staff is still working on that and figuring out what the best options are financially and programmatically. But it's something that we need to get going on, as Director Pugh stated, and so I think that we look forward to coming back and hearing what your best ideas are on going forward. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
We are on F5. Action item, approval of contract, the Stop It Anti-Bullying app.
The district is implementing a new program to tackle.
Apologize. President Close and board members, thank you. Tonight, Student Family Engagement is presenting a recommendation to move forward on an anti-bullying app called Stop It. With me tonight presenting will be Marianne Ayala, Director from Student Family Engagement. Also next to her on the left is Amy Schluter. Amy Schluter is a former teacher at Pioneer High School and currently an assistant principal at Kenilworth Middle School in Petaluma. And then Aaron Tarkanian is a representative, and we all have a role to play in the moving forward on this application. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Ayala.
Thank you. Good evening, President Close, directors. So as we present, we'd like to start it with 2 short videos. And one is, the combined total time is about 4 minutes. The first one is a news presentation, and the second one is a small video from the Stop It website that will give a great visual presentation of what this is about.
Tackle bullying and security concerns. Design's David Singer explains how the program uses smartphones.
Middle school's already a tough time growing up as a kid. Changing expectations, class load, responsibilities. It's also a prime time for bullying. That's why administrators here at the Indian Creek School District are rolling out a new application to report bullying anonymously.
Help protect the district, help protect the students, and provide another layer of security.
The school's insurance carrier is fronting the cost for the Stop It app, a smartphone program that students and parents can download for free. The licensing cost would have been around $6,000 per year if the district had to pay for the program itself.
So, the student is aware of a threat or aware of another student that's hurting themselves or causing harm to another student. They can send an anonymous text, they can do a picture, forward a picture, or they can even do a videograph.
The new program has the district revisiting its policies on cell phones. Recording to bully or embarrass students on social media is still prohibited.
If the student's recording something to share with their parent or share with a school official for their protection or protection of a friend, we're not going to shoot the messenger.
Despite posted signs discouraging cell phone use in the middle school, the principal says there are situations that call for action, or at least documenting action.
We have told the kids if something is happening right then and there that you feel you need to report, please take your cell phone out and report it at that time.
Parents and students here at Indian Creek Middle School have already been using the application. Administrators are hoping that the rest of the district is using it by Christmas time. Reporting in Jefferson County, David Singer, News 9. And now this is a really great little brief presentation from the actual website for Stop It that gives a really good overview of the app.
Life can be difficult, and it's not always easy to speak up when something's wrong or dangerous in your life or someone else's. Stop It empowers you to help yourself and to help others. Stop It gives you a voice to do what's right, to deter troublesome behaviors like bullying, cyberbullying, and hazing, helping to make your school environment a safer and happier place to learn and grow. What is Stop It? Stop It is a simple, fast, and powerful app giving you the power to make a difference today. You can report anything. You can report issues like bullying, hazing, violence, and inappropriate behavior on and offline. Virtually anything. Doing the right thing is as simple as one click on your phone, sending your report in real time to people that care and are ready to help. Make no mistake, Stop It is 100% anonymous. Period. End of story. How does it work? Once downloaded, open the app and enter the access code provided by your school. Now, go make a difference. If you experience or are witness to something you would like to report, simply open the app, tap the report button where you can send a message, photo, screenshot, or video evidence to the people that can help. Hit send and feel great. Next, the people that can help will receive your alert. When necessary, someone can reach out to you with Stop It Messenger, 100% anonymous two-way chat. In some cases, you may want to reach out for help when times are tough. When you need someone to listen and to help, you can use Stop It Messenger. Let's start making a difference. Download the Stop It app. It's free.
Okay, so this is a recap of the things that students can report. And this is a list of current districts in Sonoma County that are using Stop It. So next steps, providing opportunities for all stakeholders to learn about the Stop It app, begin piloting in spring 2018. Several schools have already volunteered. And a tentative rollout for middle and high schools would be fall 2018.
Included in our presentation tonight is a request for the revisions for the middle school cell phone policy. One school has requested to a revised middle school cell phone policy, allowing students to have it on campus during the school day, available at lunch and break, which is the exact same policy that is for high school students. So Comstock Middle School has asked for a revision, and we've included that in the action for tonight. So tonight's actions are approving our contract, and then asking for the revision for one middle school to revise the policy for the spring semester. And we have obviously available for questions and anything you may have for us.
Questions? Director Anderson. You the student board member, do you have a question? All right.
Just a comment, if I may. I saw this on the agenda. It sounds like a great idea, and I just want to say that as a student representative, I show full support for these anti-bullying measures. I think that it's definitely a big problem, and what is maybe harder for the older generation to understand is that the younger kids that are coming in a few years, our current high school students, we've had social media since we're in middle school, but in a few years, the kids that are going to be coming into high school and middle school are going to be having grown up with social media since they were, their first memories are of this, and it's, I think it's going to be a totally different, even from now, I think it's going to be a totally different universe. I have a little sister. She's going to go into high school next year, and even more than my class. All of them have social media accounts. They are so tied in, and it's definitely, I think, a situation where regulation hasn't necessarily caught up with the technology. I think that there's a lot of problems that needs to be solved. This seems like a good first step. And I just want to express a few concerns that came to the top of my head when I first heard about this. I was wondering if there's any kind of way to prove the authenticity of a screenshot or a claim, because, just thinking about it, I'm kind of concerned that there might be false reporting going on, or what if you don't like somebody? It's pretty easy to fabricate a false screenshot of a tweet or a message, so I just want to make sure that, if something's reported through Stop It, maybe the administration takes further steps and doesn't just treat this report of this image that they've received anonymously as concrete proof, that could lead to troubling situations. But, I'm just really glad that we're taking a step towards trying to solve bullying in an innovative way that's more than just words. This is a real, actual way to solve it. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Very good. Member Mott, I think it's a very good point. And I think a couple of things we're moving towards is, I think we all have to, maybe this older generation has to admit that it's there. And I think what we now work on is responsible use and legal and appropriate use. And so that's kind of where the shifts a little bit. And that's, I think, a step in the direction for at least Comstock at this point, wanting to take that kind of approach with it. Let me, on the anonymous tip, we get anonymous tips right now without the application. So administrators at a school site already have a process in place of how you have to investigate something. The due process investigation, and you confront, you ask, you find out it's nothing. But frequently what happens is that if Miss Ayala made a fake anonymous post to me, I may have a sense of who did it. So as you investigate, it frequently can lead to something like that. And let me have, if I don't get Ms. Schluter, who is the assistant principal, been using, talk about the false reports and what that feels like for you at Kenilworth.
So I think you're talking about two different things. There's sometimes there's like prank reports, like students want to just check out the system. Like if I say something, is somebody really going to respond, and how are they going to respond, and what are they going to say? So when we get, kind of false reports, just kind of trying to check it out and see what happens, we have created scripted responses. Like this is a serious application for reporting incidences of bullying, harassment, and please use it only for its intended purposes, so we can take care of the people who are reporting things that really need our attention. And so if you get one and then you respond that way, it usually stops those kinds of just like testing the system reports. As far as getting reports about things that, may or may not have been true, it usually is a result of a misunderstanding. So when a person reports something, and then we investigate it, we find out that the person who reported just didn't have the whole picture, and then we're able to kind of fill in the gaps for them about what they saw, why they saw it, what's going on with the students. And I think what they like about it is they feel like somebody's going to do something. And, maybe, they exaggerated a little bit because they wanted to see what the response was going to be. But I think that testing of the system is going to be a part of any rollout. And you just want to be, there for the students and show them that you're listening and paying attention. So.
And then Aaron also has some information straight from Stop It about those.
Okay, so this is that question that you asked. It's a great question, and it's a very common question when we're presenting this program to the school districts. And a lot of times that question comes from site administrators because they're concerned about false reporting coming from students. But when we approached Stop It about it to find out about all the districts across the United States that are using this program, the figures that they gave me today, and this is just in the fourth quarter, they said out of 8,000 reports, 177 reports were identified as fictitious. And that could be a hoax, a prank, false fake. That could be coming from a student, reporting something fake, just making it up. But when we look at those percentages, it's about 2%. So very, very rare. And, as the information would show, that if that turned into a problem with a particular student, because they do have an ID that's attached to them, it's anonymous, but you don't know who that student is that's reporting. The administration has the ability to discontinue that student's ability to use the app. They can stop it and have communication with them to say, we have a system in place, and if you continue to abuse it, we're going to have to stop you from using that. And other districts who've had that conversation with students and have stopped it, have had the students approach them and say, I'm sorry I abused the system. I see that it's a good program. Can I sign back up for it? So it's a very powerful tool. So it's actually a huge benefit for the students, more so than it would be a detriment.
Director Fall.
Nice to see you, Amy. Hi. You have used this at Kenilworth. Can you just tell us about? Yes, it's going well.
I love it. I don't know if you remember, but I was very involved in the tech initiative when technology started to come in, and I was very heavily using the Edmodo learning management system with students. So I was used to communicating with students online during school hours and outside of school hours, and it just really blows the doors off the classroom. And students use it more to report after hours. And they just want to talk to somebody sometimes, and it's interesting because I feel like I can be there for them when they need me. Now, I'm not answering calls in the middle of the night or on the weekends or on holidays. Again, we have scripted messages that says, you know, if you are reporting after hours and this is a true emergency, please contact a trusted adult or call 911. So we, you know, put that message in there for after hours, for holiday breaks when we're closed. But, you know, they're getting something back. And so they know somebody's there and is going to check and respond to them. And, you know, I think the kids, it gives them a sense of security. And it's a great way for me to communicate with them. I think they know it's me, but you know, there are other administrators in the office and counselors that have access to it. We gave access to 4 people in the office because we thought we'd get a lot. And you know, we got a lot in the beginning, and then it kind of wanes, and then we remind them about it, and then it picks up again. But what's nice is everybody can see not only what was reported, but they can see my conversation with the student too. So there's a lot of people in the loop, and you know, whenever that kid does finally decide to come in and talk to a counselor, they already know what's going on, and they're right there to help. So
I support this because if we're thinking about how we have kids report, we've had many ways over the years, right? It used to just be in person, then we had hotlines, and we had Safe School Ambassadors, right? The cost would be covered by RESE? Yes, fully. Thank you.
The cost of the program is incorporated into the property and liability programs at RESEG. And this is something that's been so important that the secondary layer of insurance, the JPA above us, they thought it was so important that they implemented the program at a reduced cost. Because obviously we see in the news today that this is an ongoing problem with these situations that are happening on campuses, and we have to develop a system to be able to have a reporting anonymously and be able to respond to it, you know, in a way that will respond to the incident, but also helps the administrators, because obviously it takes a lot of time on the administrative side to deal with these situations. So it's kind of a solution on both ends.
Director Sheffield.
I just wanted to go back to the two-way component of the platform, and wondering how much you were saying that you were responding during the day, and then in the off hours you have a message. How much time are you spending, or do you get overloaded or overworked on this? Do you sometimes get multiple in your cross conversations? And
you know, as the administrator, I'm in charge of student relationships, and that's my job. That's what I do all day, every day, and it doesn't seem like it's taken any more of my time than it would be for that student to turn in an incident report or to send me an email or to make a phone call. It's just another way for a student to communicate with us.
Right. Just wondering, because it's anonymous, if that even has a greater appeal to it. Yeah.
I think it does, because sometimes a student will say, I want to let you know that this is going on. I don't want you to do anything about it. Can you just tell me how you would handle it? Like, what should I do? And I'll give them advice. It's like social coaching in real time. Yeah. And when, you don't hear back from them, you hope everything's worked out, but you also want to, I don't know who's reading the other side. There could be parents, there could be, other community members reading it. So you have to, be very thoughtful in your response. You have to be very professional in your response, and you have to make sure they know that, if this is something that's causing you, discomfort or making you not want to come to school, then you need to see your counselor, and here's how you do that. And you start connecting them to resources and letting them know that, if this is something that you want to take further, we're here for you, and we're going to work with you to help you stop it.
And then my second question is thank you. Second question is, when setting up the device and you enter in the code, which is unique to whatever school, is that something that the student is doing, or is it done, because I'm wondering that it might be outside folks who suddenly get a hold of a code and suddenly you're getting a response from all over the place?
Excellent question. So we were told when it first came to our school that we could extend it to the community and to the parents and stuff, and we decided to keep it just with the students. But what's interesting is that the students talk to their parents about it, and I had one parent call and say, my daughter tried to report something on Stop It and her application won't work. Can you tell her how to get it set up again? So there are a few. The one technical difficulty that we found is when they update their phone, they're going to have to trash it and reinstall it. Otherwise, it won't work. And so, here's a parent that's encouraging their child to use it, and when she tried and it didn't work, she still wanted her to go through that particular application to report it. And so the parents are aware, but we haven't put it in our parent newsletter, here's the code if you want to use it too. We've just asked our students to keep it within our student community, and I think they have.
Thank you.
And that's our plan too, as we pilot this, to keep it localized and see how it goes from there. And before we lose, I also want to just mention, it was mentioned maybe once or twice briefly, the mental health side of this also is very significant, and that's another thing. We had our suicide prevention committee that we presented last time look at this as well, and they're very excited about the same thing. My friend's cutting, my friend's hurting, my friend doesn't want to come to school because she's afraid of something. So we feel that that will also be a strong component. And they also have after hours, so you can preset some of these phone numbers and information, and there's things like suicide hotlines you could put in there. So in the app, you can have keyed in information if you need it, where to report something. So that's another strong component that we feel is going to be important for us.
And also one more thing is that so often at every site that the admin work with students that are reporting things, you get to that point in the investigation where the student doesn't want to go any further for fear of being labeled a snitch, or fear if I tell somebody it's going to get worse. So this is anonymous, 1,400 students have it. We don't know where the information came from. It really is a security for students.
I think Erin has one more example.
So when they were talking about, So when they were talking about examples and students using it, we hear a lot of the examples. People come back and say, we really appreciate this app because, we just helped a young girl at one of the school sites like a month into using the program, where her friends knew that she was cutting herself, but again, none of the friends wanted to be labeled as a narc, didn't want to speak up and say anything because she asked them not to. And they were able to use the Stop It app and report it, and they were able to get that young lady help that she needed. And I know from personal experience, my daughter's school doesn't have that app in place, and there are young girls who are cutting themselves and telling their friends, and they don't want to speak up to administration. They don't have the ability or the tool to do that without the app.
Okay, I think you're hearing a lot of support for this. I really appreciate comments by Luke, our student board member. It's nice to hear from the student perspective on these things. And you're right, it is a lot different now than from when we were in school, which is a really long time ago. But although that to me is what often really concerns me, because I remember how bullying was when I was young, and the way sort of the rumor spread, and it was instantaneous then. And that was before phones and the internet, and it was just, I don't know how it happens as quickly as it did. And so, these devices have made bullying, I think, much worse in some ways. And so I love the fact that now we're using them to help the situation, and because they're not going anywhere. The question that I had is there ways that we can collect data from the reports and use those to kind of inform our approach? I know there's a texting crisis hotline that works for young people. It's been very effective, but also has been a great way to collect data. Like they've been able to identify what periods of the day are greater, there's greater incidence of suicidality, or what days on which eating disorders flare up, things like that. So do we have can we have use a similar use for this?
Yes, the documented program, those reports that are submitted, when I'm speaking to school districts, I give the example of when children are reporting in about situations that are happening on campuses. A lot of times you can see where those patterns are at. Little Johnny's over in the southeast corner of the campus, and you start looking at those reports and seeing that a lot of reports are coming in with the same location, and that can help you as you're looking at your supervision on your campus to determine, maybe we need some more help there. So it's very, very powerful tool to be able to come up with those patterns that you're describing and start using that as a way of collecting data to find, where do you need more resources and help with helping the children.
Great, thank you. Well, this is an action item.
It is. We do need a motion.
I move this forward.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Director Fong, second by Director Anderson. Roll call vote, please.
Director Fong?
Aye.
Director Anderson?
Aye.
Director Pugh?
Aye.
Director Sheffield?
Aye.
President Close?
Aye.
Student Board Member?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so give them a chance. Okay, so F6, I will open the public hearing on the Pivot Charter School North Bay.
Thank you. During this presentation, during the public hearing, there is a presentation by Jana Gaskell.
Thank you.
President Close, honorable board members, Happy New Year. And I'm back, and I apologize for that. I want to start there. It is my fault that we're back. Your attorneys were correct that if an authorizer did not want to treat the error that was on the signature page as clerical, they could decide not to rule on the charter. We couldn't afford to go appeal to the county and do the 60, 90 days and have it kicked back to you all once again, because we need the full timeline for our full due process to be able to appeal to the state. I take full ownership over that mistake, and I apologize again that we're back here. I'm not going to give you repetitive information about our charter and who our kids are, because I think you have a very good picture of that. My intent tonight is to quickly appeal to you to consider a very simple solution for the district to keep our school open at the current address and with our current authorizer. I need to summarize briefly in this PowerPoint what has happened to over 200 charter schools in the state of California in the last year. It's okay. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. To just kind of give you the background again, I know I've communicated about this with several of you individually and personally, and then after the last meeting as well, but this is a quick summary. We were authorized by Oak Grove Union in 2009, and we were renewed in 2014 for 5 years, because all renewals are for 5 years. At the time of the authorization of our charter school in 2009, there was a completely different law that applied to where an independent study charter school could locate its resource center. We and the other 200 schools that have located the resource center as we have were in compliance with the law, even per the Department of Education's own frequently asked questions that's been posted for the last 15 years. In 2016, some districts basically said, I'm not liking having somebody else's charter's resource center in my district, because the rule at the time was an independent study charter school could locate the resource center in the county of authorization and any contiguous county. It didn't reference having it be in the district of authorization. So they sued districts, their fellow districts nearby, and said, we don't like this. The end result was an interpretation of the Ed Code that pretty much just changed the law 100%. At the lower court level, the judges ruled and said, look, this has been on the books for 15 years. I don't understand why you're suing each other about this. Even the Department of Ed agrees with this applicability of the law. And then when it was appealed, when the districts appealed, the judge basically said, you know, this is really, really confusing. So I'm going to take the law that applies to classroom-based charter schools, and I'm going to apply it to independent study charter schools, completely changing the law and ignoring what at the time we all thought applied to the independent study schools. That law in the presentation here on the right-hand side is that is directly out of Ed Code. Basically what it says is, if a charter school wants a facility, it has to be in the district of authorization, or if it can't find a facility and can show that it can't find a facility and does reasonable amount of efforts to do that, they can locate in another district. However, back then, the law said the first thing you have to do, though, before you submit a charter to get a district to authorize you, is you just have to notify the district where you're going to put your charter. That law didn't apply to us or the other 200 schools back in 2009, or you would have gotten a notification. It now applies. Charter school facilities have to be compliant with e-occupancy. We have worked with the city over the last 6-7 years to make absolutely certain that all of our facilities have done that. We started out actually with the Wright Elementary School District portables out at the Community College Annex. Then we went to Farmers Lane, which is in a commercial center, and in 2013 we moved to our current location. We have spent $450,000 to $500,000 building our facility out and making it 100% compliant, and as other tenants left, we took over and we made those particular new suites compliant as well. And this is our home. We have capped our enrollment so that we can stay at this facility. We made that decision last year before all of this stuff hit the fan. When Shasta Anderson was decided upon, our governing board, and with advice from myself, we said we want to do the right thing. We don't want to use any other kind of law or a way around this, even if it's a legal way around this. We want to do the right thing. And if what the judge is saying is you should be locally authorized, we're going to do that. And we're going to take this to Santa Rosa. We have great relationships with your local schools, and we thought it was the smart and right thing to do. So that's why we are where we're at. The current charter authorized by Oak Grove actually doesn't go away. If we get a new authorizer, we will close it. But it actually has another 1.5 years on its term. It's not the charter that's being questioned the legality of, it's the location of the resource center. The charter is a perfectly legal charter and still has another 1.5 years on its charter before it needs to get renewed. I believe very strongly, and I think after you've met our families, that our resource center is a key component to our program. We do not want to be a virtual program. These kids need something more than that. They need a warm, loving place where they can get one-on-one attention to come to the school site. We're a blended program. That's exactly what our charter says, and so we need that resource center. We do believe that what you all said at the last meeting, I believe you were very sincere that you would like to see a school like ours or some alternatives continue to exist. We have a very strong relationship with our landlord and our current authorizer. I'm guessing that relationship won't be great if we have to break a lease. I'm sure there'll be some legal fallings outs of that. But the resource center has very easy access to public transportation, with which the majority of our students use. We would like to remain in our current location to serve our 400 plus kids. And it's a very special, the resource center is a very special part of our program. We're not trying to be sneaky here. The law didn't apply back then. It does now. We really were trying to do the right thing. And I fully understand why you all didn't authorize it, but I'm hoping that you will consider this as an easy option to possibly consider to allow us to continue not have to be authorized by you or appeal to the county, stay with our authorizer that we have a good relationship with, and continue to serve our students. We have all of the documentation of last year's real estate searches and the last 8 months' real estate searches for Oak Grove Unified. There is not a 10,000 square foot, there's not even an 8,000 square foot building that we can retrofit to e-occupancy to move into. And I have all that documentation. I'm happy to present it to you, happy to have a subcommittee meeting, as I offered some of you, have our attorneys meet. It's an easy solution, I hope, that you will consider in this process so we can get on with serving kids and whatnot. That's the most important thing. That's what we're doing. That's why we're here. I do want to, I know this is not news to you, but I do want to publicly acknowledge your district staff. I'm not 100% sure if our relationship got derailed somewhere along the line, but I don't have to agree with people to respect them. And I have the utmost respect for your staff and the work that we've done with them, that they've done with us. It is very, very hard. I know, because I'm in a similar position, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge them. They've been exceptional. They're incredibly hardworking people. So thank you. I know it's your policy to not have to ask questions, but I'm happy to meet with anybody to discuss a very simple solution. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't have any other blue cards, so I will close the public session. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you. This is your